Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mompreneur Truth Talks. Today I have Gabs Hayes. We are going to have so much fun. Hi, Gabs.
Hello, my love. I am so ridiculously excited to be here. I think it's going to be just the best conversation between you and everyone else just gets to enjoy it.
Well, absolutely. We always have a great time. So,
Absolutely.
yes, let's jump in. Gabs is the founder of The Village, which is an online parent entrepreneur community. I'm in The Village. I love it so much. There are just great people in there doing amazing things, creating impact. And I love that you hold that space for us. Thank you.
I honor those words so much and I take them to heart. I actually, we had service swap yesterday, and so I was service swapping with one of the members, and she said to me, she was like, I literally feel like that room is full of geniuses. She said there's so much knowledge, so much support. Everyone just wants everyone to be successful. And I thought, how powerful is that? Because all of us join and go in that community because we feel like we're failing. We feel like we're never doing enough. We feel like we never have it figured out. And then instead, it's like you get in this room where we all have that same feeling, but we also all know that we're extremely talented, capable human beings in our areas of the world or our areas of business. And like, how cool that we're just figuring it all out together.
Yes. I know. I get in there. It's in Slack, which, I said to you, I don't really know how to use Slack very well, but I love to try new things. And it's been great because the way you have it broken out in different days and subjects, and we can just find what we need. We can help others. I love getting in there, seeing what everyone's doing and how I can support them.
Yeah, it's been so fun. And, I think this is a part of entrepreneurship. Like, I had so much resistance to starting a community. I have clients that have very large communities. So I see, the effort that goes into them and how much it takes to, it's one thing to just say, I'm starting a community, throw it up and hope and pray that something happens with it. But it's another thing to like have this space that's active and really truly feels like an integral part of people's lives. And so I'm really proud that we've been able to do that with the village, because I was for months avoiding it. I was like, nope, it's not my thing, not doing that. But honestly, I think success has a unique definition to each and every one of us. But when I look back at my 5 years of being an entrepreneur, I think it's one of the most successful things I've ever done.
Yay. Well, I am so glad that I found you because it's been lovely. And it feels like you'll know that feeling you meet someone, you're like, I must have known you in a past life, or there's just this energy and connection. And the way you bring that into the village and everywhere that you are, it's just lovely. And we need more souls like that.
Oh, I love you, girl.
Thank you. All right, I want to talk summer because we're both moms. We've got kids at home. And I was just before we started recording telling them to be quiet, as you heard. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it's not easy, right?
No, so my kids, I think for context here, I have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So I've got all the ages, all the ranges, all the things. And this is the first summer that the kids are home full time with me, while we're making transitions. And, I think it helps also to talk about why, because I'll hear people, I'll say that to people and they're like, well, just put your kids in daycare or like just send them to summer camp. And I think the reality is those of us who are, our primary income is coming in from businesses that we have created. It's just different this year. It's been harder than it's ever been. I think everyone's feeling this crunch. And so even if you have the funding or the resources, you're questioning, is that the right place to, spend it or to use that money? So anyway, for all of the reasons, my kids are home. And I think it's interesting too when you think about perspective and what you expected to happen, because I thought, oh, well, my oldest is here, so I'll have help, because originally the 5-year-old's been home with me by herself every day. And I thought, oh, there's 3 of them and they'll play. No, it's just, it's different, right? They're fighting. He's sleeping till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like whatever teenagers do. And so it is interesting because something I learned about myself in like the last year is I do not have the capacity and the capability to flip flop between let me hop on this meeting and then let me go cook lunch and then let me go do heads down work and then take you to the pool. Like I just don't do as much as I want to say I'm the best multitasker and I can do that, I don't actually do my best that way. And so it has been really hard having all of them home and feeling like I'm exhausted at the end of the day, but I also feel like I've done nothing. And it's like, what? How do you manage those two feelings at the same time?
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That is exactly, well, yesterday I was just wiped. And that's how it feels. I know I did a million things. I'm exhausted at the end of the day, and I feel like I got nothing accomplished.
Yeah,
What
I
is
mean,
that?
I think, those of us who are juggling kids at home, whether it's summertime or you have younger kids that they're home with you all year, like we don't give enough credit to what it takes to keep these kids alive, to, keep the house somewhat livable, because it sure as hell is not going to be spotless at this time of year. But, I think that there's not enough credit, and it's on ourselves, honestly. Like, I'm not even looking for society to give that credit, but for us to say, what we are doing is hard. Raising a whole human being is hard work. And it was once a full-time job for many people. And that hasn't changed. The amount of energy and exhaustion it takes to make that happen every day has not changed. But yet we're still over here chasing desires, trying to run businesses, leaning into careers and dreams and all of these things. And I think at the end of the day, this flip-flopping back and forth just totally takes a toll on us, that we haven't really felt like we've had the space to say, this is hard and I still want to do it. I can remember, Lisa, when I was still in my corporate career, I would tell my husband all the time, I'm like, I'm really struggling because I genuinely feel like two completely total human beings, two separate human beings. I love my career. I love my work. I love these things I'm good at. And I want to run hard. I want to travel the world, and I want to be on site with clients, and I want to do all of those things. But I also want to be at the pool at 2 p.m. and making sandwiches and and so it's really hard because it's not just, and we talked about this in the village recently, with these decisions of like whether I'm going to make a business or whether I'm going to grow my career or be a stay-at-home parent or whatever it may be. You may make that decision, but still may feel the pressure of that choice. It doesn't mean just because we made the decision, it went away. And so I think that's the reality, is we are, most of us, multi-passionate human beings. And how and when do we make space for all of those things that we want to be true in our life?
Whew, that's a big one. Because you're right, we can make the decisions and then it hits us, oh, this isn't going to be easier. It's just a different hard. But if we find support and we find community, we can make it through. It's just realizing that it takes the village. It truly does. And so many of us, I know me, I've got this. I can totally do this on my own. And then I wonder why I'm exhausted and just want to say, you know what? Everybody go away and leave me alone. Mom is tired.
Yeah. And I think like that conversation in and of itself, I didn't grow up hearing that I could say those things as a mom. I didn't grow up knowing I could make space for myself. I grew up with a working mom, so I feel like I saw, it was okay to have a career. It was okay to love your work. But it was like when you got home, no matter how exhausted, how tired, how stressed, turn mom hat on, and you had to be mom until everybody went to bed. And in this house, my kids know it is not uncommon for mom to mosey on upstairs at about 7 p.m., 7:30. Good night. I love you people, and I will see you in the morning. And I may not be going to bed, but I am exiting responsibility, and I'm going to be a vegetable.
Oh my gosh, yes. My boys, they know when that bathtub turns on, you do not bother mom. She is finished for the night. Figure it out. And
Yep.
mine are older. I have 3 teenagers, right? 19, 18, 16. So they're coming and going, and I'm checking on Life 360 to see where they even are. But when they're here, they know I'm finished about 8 p.m. The day is done.
Yeah. And, I think you and I bonded over this too, Lisa, of this like raising kids to be independent, to be prepared for the actual world that they're getting ready to enter. It's very emotional, and it feels like parenting is the greatest thing we can do in the world. And I'm not negating that by any means. but they are ours for a very short time. And then they're off to live their life, do their thing, and hopefully become really, responsible, good human beings in this world. And so I resonate a lot with what you're saying too, because with my 14-year-old, we're testing these waters of a little bit more freedom, of going out and doing things without us. And I feel very fortunate. We live in a community where like all the kids have electric bikes and scooters and they're out riding and doing their own thing and going fishing and going to basketball, whatever. But like right now it's summer and mine is wanting to go out at 9:30 to go play basketball because we live in Phoenix. So if you try and go during the day, you're going to die.
There's
and
that.
so, it's interesting because I'm like, I need to give him that space to test that responsibility, to learn what it means to go out and play and meet up with your friends and come back home at a responsible time. But also like, I'm not trying to stay up till 11 p.m. and midnight to make sure you make it home on time. So like, how do we navigate those responsibilities too?
That is such a tough one. And I will wake up in the middle of the night because I've fallen asleep and I have to look at my 360, make sure everyone's home in their beds. Then I can breathe again and go back to sleep. But you're right. They need that freedom. They want that freedom desperately. I remember wanting that freedom so badly around that age.
Yeah.
Right? You just want to be with your friends and you want to explore, hopefully not get into trouble. But yeah, it's really tough on the mom's heart. It's really, yeah, it's definitely this tug constantly, and it doesn't go away. My oldest is at college. I still wonder, is he okay? How's he doing? I check Life 360, not all the time, because what am I going to do? He's, however many states away. But that mom, that feeling and that angst, that never goes away.
Yeah. And it's heavier than I think a lot of us admit. We have someone in the village who she and I bonded over similarly, right? Like we haven't loved every part of motherhood. We are trying to navigate what that identity part of us means. And she was telling me like she went into a motherhood group and said, that I don't love all of this. I really didn't like grow up waiting to be a mom and I'm struggling with this. And she was attacked basically. Like people were just like, I cannot believe you. You're such a horrible mom. How could you say those things? Your kids are your greatest thing in the world. And so for many of us, that's what we heard. That's what we experienced growing up. So if you're ready to be honest with yourself, which I feel like is the only way to have true joy and happiness in life, is to be truly honest with what you want out of your life, it may be going against what you heard or what you think are societal norms. And how do you navigate those? How do you speak up for what you need? And also, how do you navigate the heaviness that comes with it? Because you're going to feel some of that pressure for wanting to do things differently.
Yes. I was my only friend who I didn't talk about getting married, having kids. It just wasn't in my vision, really. And now here I am with 3, bam, 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 it's a beautiful thing, but you're right. Like we do it differently. Maybe it's not so great all the time, but I love talking about that because I know I can't be the only one. And I have found I'm not the only one once I start opening up about it of this is really hard.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it's the hardest job I've ever had. And listen, I've put myself in situations where I've had a lot of really tough roles and a lot of really tough jobs. But it's one that I think you never feel like you're doing it right. And I think that's part of the challenge, right? I mean, think about your career, your marriage, like whatever it may be. There may be seasons where it feels hard or where you may feel like, oh, dang, I didn't show up right or I made a mistake. But in general, you can look at those relationships that you have as that part of your identity and say, I'm really good at my work. Or I've built a really strong partnership or really strong friendships or whatever that is. But I think with children, because they are ever evolving just as we are, it always feels like you're figuring it out. It always feels like you're doing something new. And so if you're in a constant state of doing something you've never done before, of course you're going to feel like you're failing at it.
And then you add multiple kids to the mix who have different personalities. They're in different seasons. And then you're just, okay, wait, okay, who do I have to help today? Mm-hmm. Who do I need to support? Where do I need to be? Yes. So that there's that constant also. Yeah, which is tough.
Yeah. And like my husband and I talk about all the time, in society today, it also feels like we're almost being punished for having kids in the way that like we have three, just as you do. And in today's world, that's a huge family. Like, we don't fit in a rental car. We don't fit in a hotel room. We don't, like all of these things, like our life completely changed. And for lack of having support in a village, and then you have this family that doesn't fit in society's norms, it's really wild to think about how much we're navigating that. I have a girlfriend who moved to Mexico and she has one daughter, but she was telling me, she said, I didn't realize how much America made parenting a challenge, even if you have all the resources, you live in the community with all the people. She said, go out to eat in America and what's the standard table? A four top.
Yeah.
What do you do if you have 5 of you in the family or 6 of you in the family? But she said, in Mexico, they have found fluidity in their life because kids are welcomed and expected to be everywhere. So she said, there is no planning. Oh, I need to go have coffee with so-and-so. So I need to find someone to stay with the kids. And then like, what time do they need to be here? Then I need to leave. Like all of that logistical stuff that we do. She said, that's just not our norm anymore. And she was like, and I thought in America, I had built, I lived in the community next to my parents. We had all the friends. We did baseball together. We did all the things, but still the level of logistics that go into it here is what is not expected in other places where kids are a part of the community and the culture, and they are expected to be a part of the community and the culture.
Wow. I hadn't even considered that. But you're right. It is difficult. And we are always trying to maneuver and manipulate. And yeah, especially, yes, when you have multiple children. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I shared with you recently, and I know you wanted to chat about this, but like it's like parenting AI guide. I don't even know what you call it really, but like all these prompts that I put together for how I use AI as a parent, because just the logistics of running our lives are so heavy and they're so hard. And so I literally was at a place where I was like, I need a house manager, but I can't afford to hire one. So guess what, AI? You get to be the house manager. You've been hired for the job. You get to do the things now.
Yes. No, I absolutely love this. I'm using your productivity guide AI because it's so helpful because you can brain dump everything on there and then it helps you figure out what to prioritize and when. Yes. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, parenting comes with so many decisions that we've not prepared ourselves for, that we've not considered, that we didn't realize we would be making decisions 24/7, 365, probably for the rest of our lives, even when they leave home. And so, I was an early adopter of AI in my work and I was using it in my business all the time. But then I started looking around and I was like, why am I not using this everywhere? Like I saw a thread the other day that said, if you could outsource one thing about parenting every day for the rest of your parenting journey, what would you do? 90% of the responses were meal planning. I'm sick and tired of deciding what everyone's eating for the rest of our life. And that was part of it for me, is I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of every single night. What's for dinner? What's for lunch? What's for breakfast? What snacks do we have? So that was how part of that started, is I was like, you know what? There's someone else who has unlimited decisions and they have capacity to answer that question. And so I just started going in and I was like, here are the regular meals that our family of 5 eats. Here are the things we don't eat. Please help me decide what the hell we're having for the next week, because I don't want to decide.
Love this. Yes. Just take it out of my brain, please. Take
Yeah.
care of it for me. Oh, yeah, that's a big one of, well, and then you have kids that don't eat certain things and you're trying to make everyone happy. Although I'm just like, eat it, or I don't even know what to tell you. But yes. And then the planning and then the grocery shopping and the lists and all the things. So having the help, so great. I mean, we gotta love AI for that. I mean, that could be a whole other episode about AI, but for this, loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I mean, I think entrepreneurship gave me the space to learn how to be a mom that I actually wanted to be. And I never expected that. I never, was expecting that would be a kind of a byproduct of choosing to go out on my own. But it forced me to be really resourceful with the amount of time and capacity and decisions that I can make. And so it's taught me how to use tools like this that I wouldn't have otherwise. Because like my husband's in construction and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to use AI to create our meal plan. He's like, what are you talking about?
Who are you?
He's like, you just type it and tell it that you want a meal. Yes, that's what we do. We just tell it what you want and it's going to do it for you. And so like, that's been nice to be able to learn those things. Because now I tell people all the time, I have free time as a mom of 3 that at certain points was running 2 and 3 businesses. And that feels so wild to say. Like I even looked, I was like, I've been watching like a little bit more TV than I probably am proud of. But I just have gotten to a point where like, I won't allow the chaos in my life. I won't allow, to get all wound up about these silly little things that won't matter in 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 years. And I always worry, am I doing enough? Am I spending enough time with my kids? Am I supporting them enough? Do they feel loved enough? Am I spending enough money on the things that matter to them? All of those things. But I'll tell you, Father's Day recently passed as of us recording this, and my daughter made like a super dad card or something in school. And it was really sweet because she put in there, like, my dad loves my mom. My dad's favorite thing is to have fun with my mom. Like it was all about like our relationship, which I thought was so funny. But I was really ridiculously proud of that because we didn't find how to make that kind of partnership and that fun in our home where we're laughing and giggling and playing games and all those kind of things until I started to address my issues where I was struggling, where I had maxed out my capacity, where I had overwhelmed myself. And once I was willing to be honest with myself about those things, I could start to work on my relationships with my kids and with my partner and creating this home that I never grew up in and never thought was possible. Like one thing that started me on this journey completely to turn things around was couple years ago, I was on like a networking call or something, and somebody asked if you'd ever seen a present and joyful woman in your life.
Ooh.
And I thought, I know plenty of joyful women who are joyful in seasons, but I don't know anyone who is present genuinely, not stressed about what's next, not worried about what happened. And that was a massive shift for me to realize if I can't live presently where my feet are, I'm not living the life I want to live.
Yeah.
And those short, joyful moments were temporary compared to building a life that allowed it to be my norm.
Mm-hmm. So how did you build it? I know I'm sure it's a long road. It doesn't just happen overnight, but I know that there are a ton of moms, including myself, that yes, we want to be joyful and present, but there's also reality. Mm-hmm. So how do we shift that?
Yeah. I'm going to be honest here. I think you've got to be willing to be really, really honest with yourself. That is the first thing. And I'm really proud for my kids to say that the mom we have today is not the mom we were born to, that I am a completely different person. I've done a 180. And so there were a couple of things. One, I had to admit to myself that I was not being who I wanted to be. That if this was the person who was going to show up for the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years, I was going to get to the end of my life and have a lot of regrets. And no one's going to change that but me. And I had to make that choice. And then I started being willing to go against the grain. I started being willing to, let my kids go to the park with their older sibling and me not have to be there hovering over them. I started saying, this is what's for dinner. And if you don't like it, you can have water. I mean, I would literally tell my kids, this is what's for dinner or water. You get a choice. You could choose what you want. but down to their showering, their laundry, the cleaning of the house. Like, I think it's so natural for us to take all of that on and feel like that is part of motherhood, is that we're doing all of those things. And of course, when they're little, it is, and that's a requirement. But as they get older, I see so many women in my life, they don't ever let those reins go.
Yeah.
I have siblings that are very close in age to my oldest who have never washed their laundry ever in their lifetime.
Wow.
And what's going to happen when they do eventually go somewhere in life? You know, those are the kind of things. And so I also just had to completely and totally detach myself from money.
Mm.
And I know that that is a very sensitive subject for most of us. And I have openly talked about this with many people, that money is the hardest relationship I've ever had in my life and will probably continue to be the hardest relationship I've ever had in my life. But I literally had to let it all burn. I had to let it all go. I had to say, I don't care if I have to miss a payment this month. I don't care if I have to shut my credit cards down. I don't care. And listen, I went through some really scary financial things to get to this place. And so I hope that everyone doesn't have to go through those. But what I want you to hear as I say that is, what you think you know is to be true or is a must or has to happen, you need to be willing to challenge all of it. And I had a girlfriend who said to me one day, she said, you have completely detached yourself from what society expects we're supposed to do in the sense of money, parenting, running a business, whatever. And she goes, that's what all of us are actually chasing, is this detachment from expectations. And listen, I've had to make some hard choices now to fix the money situations and clean all of those up. But it comes because I have these different boundaries. It comes because for the last 7 months, I literally have said to myself every single morning, we are living present where our feet are. And if I am making choices or, spiraling or overthinking about something that's not where my feet are right now, I can't deal with that. That's not where I want to spend my energy. And so to say it's been easy would be an ultimate lie to you. But, part of my story, right, is I lost my son 7 years ago. And that was part of that massive wake up call of whether I want to control the outcome of life or not, I don't get to.
Right.
The outcome is already actually decided for all of us. Like, that was a huge eye opener for me, that like, all of us are going to have a hyphen. There's going to be a start date and an end date, but we have full control over what happens in that hyphen and what we want it to be filled with genuinely. And so that's another thing, is like, 1 week my kid's obsessed with mac and cheese and the next week she hates it, but I bought a caseload of it. Well, I can't control that outcome, right? I had no idea what day she was going to wake up and decide she hates mac and cheese now. Like, an old me would have like beat myself up. I'm her mom. How could I have not known that she was going to stop liking this? And now I wasted this money on this mac and cheese and now no one's going to eat it, right? Like, it was that kind of spiral that just was taking me out of my present all the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, well, screw it. Someone will eat the mac and cheese eventually.
Or they won't. Or you make a big batch and have their friends over, right?
Yep.
You're absolutely right. Letting those little things go is actually huge, because we need that. Yes. Thank you for sharing those.
We're all facing big things, right? And it's different for each and every one of us. It's different in different seasons, but that's part of it, is you've got to let go of those little things to have space to deal with the big things. And so, like, I'll give you an example. I had a grandparent that fell down the stairs. He was okay from the fall, but we're very thankful he fell because we figured out he had blood cancer as a result of the fall and had no inclination. And I remember my mom calling me, just obviously beside herself. This is her dad. She's falling apart about it. But I remember this piece inside of me when she called, because I thought, he's someone I look at who maximized his life. He's done what makes him happy. He's lived a good life. And whether it's now or 6 years or 60 years from now, he's going to pass. We all are.
Yes.
And that was a good reminder for me of like, I had an example of someone who didn't always have the best life, didn't always make the best choices, but as he has gotten older, he's incrementally tried to fulfill his life and make the most of it. And he was the same way. He was like, I lived a good life. It's okay. Like, if it's my time, it's my time. And I think that too was a very big moment that I could stay grounded in that moment. I could be thankful for all the time and all the memories and all the things. But I also know it was his life to choose how he wanted to live it. So I can't be upset about what happens now. That was his lifetime, his choice. But we all have these things with our kids or our work or our parents or whatever it may be. And yes, you've got to give yourself space to stay grounded in those moments, or else their choices, their life, their situations are going to completely derail you. And I just don't think at the end of the day that's fair. I think that we should get to control how grounded we feel in our life.
And it starts with us. As you said, it is our choice to make those changes or to step back and say, I'm going to take a bath. I'm going upstairs to read a book. I need this space for me. Yes. But it's hard for moms. I know, because I work with moms, to take that space. And it's absolutely what we deserve. And our kids deserve it as well. I'm such a better mom when I have that space.
For sure. We're better moms, but I think we forget to admit that teaching them we need this space or this is how we care for ourselves teaches them how to do the same thing. And so in this kind of full circle moment, you genuinely are fulfilling your motherhood responsibilities by taking care of yourself first, because you're showing them how to also do that. You know, I think about like my son had his first, little middle school girlfriend. And like, it was a very one-sided relationship. Obviously, I don't take it serious, but I watched as she was a very selfish, very emotionally unregulated child, how he would pick up on those feelings and then carry them around. But we could have an honest conversation to say, that's not yours to carry around. She's got to make certain choices for herself. You have to protect yourself. And like, that's just only going to exasperate as he gets older and as my girls get older. And as a mom, I don't want them getting in a relationship where they feel like they're walking around on eggshells or they can't prioritize their needs to be a better partner. I feel proud that I'm teaching them how to do that, because you and I have talked about this before, right? The ripple effect of, we take care of ourselves and we're better moms because of it. And then our kids get better parents or better moms because of it. And then they go out in the world and are better human beings because of it. And like, that is that massive world changing ripple effect that, yeah, we can't measure it, but you have to inherently know if you feel 100 times better, so do your kids, so do their friends, so do their parents, right? And it just keeps going and going and going. And so in many ways, I feel like taking care of myself is the least selfish thing I can do. It's the best community builder I can put out in the world.
Whew. Can everyone feel that? Of just that like, exhale of yes. Thank you, Gabs. You're such a bright light and energy. And I love how you're just so honest and open, because we need more of that in the world. We need that to be in the ripple effect also of, let's talk about these hard things and let's support each other as we rise. And that's what you're doing every day. Thank you.
I love you, girl.
Thank you. How can people find you and find your lovely AI guides?
Yeah, so I'll give you the links, Lisa, so you can drop them in the show notes. They're all free, so just grab them as you see fit and as you need them. And the easiest way is probably my website, gabshayes.com. That'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on. And I also have a podcast myself called Overwhelmed and Over It, where we do short, snackable episodes. And Lisa will be on here soon, so you'll get to hear her episode too, where we have these just real, raw, honest conversations around what's going on in our life and in our worlds and how do we navigate it.
Yes, such good stuff. So go check out Gabs, get those AI prompts. They're so helpful. I love the brain dump it all, sister. We've got 7 minutes before the kids get in and all of that. It's just so like, yes, this is real life. It's so helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
So glad. Thank you for being in my world.
Oh, all right, everyone. We'll catch you next time on Mompreneur Truth Talks. Thanks so much, Gabs.
Thank you for spending time with me today in Mompreneur Truth Talks. Before you go, please do me a quick favor. If this episode spoke to you, please like, follow, or leave a review. Your feedback helps other ambitious moms find these conversations about designing a business and life that work together. All right, moms, I'll see you next time. And remember, success isn't about sacrifice or balance. It's about creating harmony and taking action steps that feel right for you.